show who you are. Good riddance. Is you kidding? Bid the forbidden. As it was written, you overbidding. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, unforgiving. Cast the pearls on hog moms and chitlin'. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. Finger licking good, good looking. Stewing in the stew, I'm cooking. You psyched out, paranoid and shookin'. Shook the table, spades I'm booking. Get prepared for this ass whooping. Listen to the words being spoken. You were talking, I'm awake and woken. While I'm spitting this, got your spit, got choking. Era of a glimpse in my world, eyes shut open. Parallel in my mind, I'm chosen. Reverse the time, heart frozen. Antarctica, cold as ice. Casting lots, rolling dice. Mean as nails, I'm nothing nice. They persecuted me like they rejected Christ. And show who you are. All right. Good evening, everyone. I got another show for you guys today. I know, two in a row. Today we will be diving deep into a thought-provoking conversation with Jamel J. Fax Lashley. Am I saying this right? How do you say it? I'm messing the whole name up. I just know J Fax. I'm just gonna say
that's
J
all it
Fax.
takes. That's all it takes.
Yeah, so we'll be exploring the intersections of God, science, and literacy through the lens of Jamel's unique perspective as a passionate advocate for education and an insightful thinker. Jamel brings a fresh and enlightening viewpoint to these profound topics, whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in between. This episode promises to challenge your views and inspire your mind. Oh God, I just read the damn description, not even my introduction. You know I'm twisted in the sauce. How you doing tonight? J Fax?
I'm good. I mean, given the fact that I'm dealing with this Hurricane Burrow situation right now in Houston, we good. We good though.
How's that going? Like, what's going on out there?
Lots of flooding. We got somewhere between 14 feet of water in some spaces. And lots of damage. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was. Even though it was very short-lived, it did a lot of damage in a really short period of time.
Okay, yeah. So, you safe though, right? Did you mark yourself as safe?
Nah, I ain't mark myself as safe, but I'm definitely safe. I'm good though.
I mean, a lot of people on my friends list was marking themselves as safe, and so I started looking and seeing the visuals, and it ain't looking too good out there.
Nah, it doesn't look good, but I am safe, and I'm glad that people are safe. I didn't go the route of announcing my safety on socials because the people that matter most aren't there, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, all my family is on my social media, so I don't know. Well, most of them. So let's just dive into these questions I got. So, J Fax, can you start by telling us a bit about your background and how you became interested in the topics of God, science, and literacy?
Oh man, that is
Take your time.
That is a seriously deep
Question?
Exactly what made me get to where I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Yeah. I ended up here as a result of various experiences throughout my life.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff were constants, like my interest in literacy and science. Those things were constants throughout my whole life. I wasn't always tied to my faith, though.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't always the case. So my faith didn't be until the last decade, around 2014. That's when things really became much more in depth with regards to my faith. But my love for science, my love for literacy, those things stem back to when I was a tot. I'm talking preschool. I've always loved reading,
Mm,
always loved science. I was always interested in how things worked and why things are the way they are. Um,
okay.
and they became pretty much the foundation by which my faith was established.
So, how do you deal with science and God? How that go? How's that combination working?
Well, the combination was interesting because I mean, believe it or not, at one point in time, I found myself kind of confused and not really knowing what it is that I believed in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I started out. My family's traditionally from the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my mother's from Barbados and my pops is from Jamaica. He's a Rastafarian and my mother's Shango Baptist. So I grew up with a very eclectic belief system, to say the least. And I found myself, as a result of my own identity issues, I found myself struggling to figure out what it is to put my beliefs in or what it is to base my identity on, because that's really what happens, right? Your beliefs determine who you think you are or how you see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it took me a while. I had some serious identity issues in my youth. Um, I'm talking about I went from full on atheism to full on Satanist to now where I am today. It was really interesting. It was a wild ride. It was a really wild ride. What really got me to mixing the three, um, a lot of people's perceptions concerning the Christian faith specifically stems around their inability to understand what the text actually says. And this is no shot to anyone in particular, but I'm using my life as
I'm
the
sorry.
basis.
I'm sorry, because I've been saying this all the time. People don't understand. No, seriously, because people don't understand what English, the language. They don't understand the English language. And if you've taken like formal English courses, then you'll understand like different literary devices and stuff like that. And also and then just understand the, I'm trying to pronounce this word, etymology of the word, etymology, however you pronounce it. Learning how the word came about, where it came from, and how it transformed over the years, and what it, because like a lot of people use current, you know, definitions of words, right?
Absolutely. They use what it says today and apply it throughout the entire history of the existence of the word, which is flawed.
I didn't eat nothing today. I'm sorry. I
No,
usually
you're
don't
fine.
eat.
You're fine. You're fine.
But, and it's like, for an example, right? We talking about the word. I don't like this word, witch, right? There's a lot of witches in our community these days.
Hmm.
And but I don't think people really understand what the word witch meant then versus what it means now.
Right. Right. I agree. I agree.
Because like when it comes to scripture, it's always going to give you the definition of what it's talking about right after it mentions it. And
Right.
a witch is a necromancer. And the the little scripture, right? A
Right.
witch and
Right.
then it goes to
Right.
necromancer. That means somebody that raised the dead.
Right. Exactly.
Just like how when Nathaniel the prophet, he was dead, and Saul went to go see what? A witch.
Right. Yeah.
And what she
Samuel. But
do?
yes, she raised him from the dead. Yes, she did.
I don't see how people miss that.
Right. And like I said, it really comes down to literacy. I never actually, it took me literal years. Like I said, within the last decade, 2014 specifically was the year where I started to read and really study the Bible for what it actually says. Before that, I never read it. I mean, I only knew what John 3:16 and Psalms 23. Again, my family's Shango Baptist, so I think it suffices to say that I would memorize Psalms 23. Um, but yeah, it took me literal years. I was 10 years ago. I was 30, I mean, 24, 25. No, I'm 36 now, so 26. It was crazy. Um, to even think like, yo, just you didn't read this stuff, but you're standing on it. It just didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. A good brother of mine actually brought it to me and told me to just read it for myself. He showed it to me and it just read it for yourself. And a lot of the things that I thought I knew, I did not know. I had no clue. I had no clue. And as a result of that, it took a huge blow to my identity as an individual. Once I was able to iron out what things actually are, what they mean, who I am, in reference to those things, it really gave me a new outlook of who I am as an individual. It gave me a new sense of confidence, even once I knew what it was. It was dope. It was dope to see. That's why literacy is so important to me. However, concerning science, it's another topic within itself.
And what led you to science?
So I was always a tinkerer of sorts throughout my whole life. Like I said, I always wanted to know how things worked. Always, always, always. I'll be mixing things together. I discovered chlorine gas by accident in my household. By mixing.
Ajax with bleach. You mixed Ajax with bleach.
Yeah, it was actually liquid ammonia and bleach.
Ammonia.
Yeah, it was liquid ammonia and bleach that I mixed. But
When you say you was a tinker, because one of my favorite cartoon characters was Tinkerbell, because I felt like I was a tinker.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people tend to find those references in those. Like I said, our identities are based in what we believe. You know what I'm saying? And in most cases, this is why representation is so important. We literally believe that which we accept is true. That's what the definition of belief is. What we accept to be true. And in most cases, the things that we accept to be true is based completely in what we perceive in our realities. You know what I'm saying? What we perceive is what we're going to accept to be true. Well, if I just keep on seeing images of my heroes and things of that nature as white people, then I never see myself as such. You get what I'm saying? I don't believe that I can be that as well. You understand what I'm saying? But thankfully, I was born in a time where things were starting to change, and I was able to see myself in those places. One of my favorite characters. It's funny, we just actually told. Well, I didn't do the show, but Kahani, shout out to him. He just did a show on blacks in media, and he brought up one of my favorite characters in his show. Was Blank Man. Really smart guy. Super smart. He had zero swag to him. He didn't really, but he was super smart, and he was able to be a superhero as a result of that. You know what I'm saying? That gave me a new perspective on everything that I knew, because I was a nerd as a kid. I was a geek. Like, true story. I'm talking about full on nerd. Like, well, yeah. Now we can say that, right? But at one point in time, it was shunned, right? Like, it really was. It wasn't acceptable to be smart. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. Like,
it's still not acceptable. You know how many friends I don't have because they think I'm just like, I think I'm a know-it-all or something. I don't know what they think.
Yeah. It's really weird. It's really weird. But having that representation showed me that it was okay. You get what I'm saying? To accept those things. If it wasn't for the Wayans or even Robert Townsend, changing that whole perspective of what things were supposed to be, I mean, I probably would still have those problems to this very day. But like I said, thankfully, I had the wherewithal as a result of it being brought to me by my brother, to really look into things on my own. Like I said, it wasn't predicated on what my mom said. And that's not to say that my mother didn't tell me amazing things. You know what I'm saying? She told me great things, but I didn't internalize them. You feel me? It wasn't predicated on what society told me. It was predicated on what I actually learned for myself. And I internalized the things that I learned for myself, which makes me the man that I am today, from whether it's through literacy and reading or through science and experimentation and playing around with stuff. It really allowed me to solidify myself as the man that I am today.
Excuse me. What's your favorite book to read?
Oh, that's a tough question. That's a tough question.
I'm going by my questions. I'm just talking to you now.
So I have a varying palette for literature. I do a lot of self-help. I read a lot of self-help and criminal thrillers and novels. One of my favorite authors today is Lee Child. He is the creator of Jack Reacher. I absolutely love his work. I've been reading his work since Bad Luck and Trouble dropped initially. I loved it. Before him, it was Robert Frost. He's my favorite poet. I absolutely
I ain't heard
Yeah.
that man in a long time.
I love
Like,
his work. I love
mm,
his work. Robert Frost he had such a way with articulating his points. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? Um, anyway, I can go on for hours about Robert Frost. Poe was amazing. Absolutely adore
I
Poe.
knew you was gonna say that. What
Yeah.
I was gonna say, man, what's that? What's the book called? The Raven. Oh my god, that it was like the way that it was told. It was so freaking scary. Like it
Yeah,
was so
yeah.
scary. He is such a scary. He was to me, even though I guess you have to be like really into literature to even understand, but because it'll probably go over a whole bunch of people's head. And
Yeah,
then he
it's
had, go ahead.
no, I would say it's the imagery he uses. It's the imagery he uses. A lot of people love the Raven because of the imagery. You know what I'm saying? I actually love the Raven, but I prefer Telltale Heart. The Telltale Heart was
Yeah,
a
with
great
the one with the face, her thing. I was gonna talk about that one with the girl with the thing on her face.
yes, I love the
And
Telltale
he kept
Heart.
trying to find a reason to take it off and all that. Mm. He ended up dead when he finally take the thing off.
Yeah, the
Oh.
imagery is what makes it so amazing, right? Because we're talking about people who were able to make you see an image without ever showing you an image itself. They use their words to create these pictures in your mind. So
Implication implied. Because I remember we were
exactly,
talking about
exactly.
like on how I know you probably seen it what's the show? Players Club. Is it Players Club with Ice
Yeah, yeah,
Cube?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it was implied that the girl got raped, but nobody ever really saw her get raped.
Right, right. It plays on your other senses in order to get you to visualize what was going on behind that door. You know what I'm saying? They used sound to create the idea of what was taking place. And they did
Mm-hmm.
so really well because to this day that scene gives me chills, to be honest with you.
Mm. But you know, we be having debates on did we really see it? And I'm like, you did not see it. You know, it's been an ongoing debate because people really believe they saw that girl get raped.
Nah, yeah, she wasn't. You never visually saw her raped at all. It's
Mm.
all implied, like you said. They use sound behind that door, right? They use the dramatization of the characters' faces outside of the room, like their expressions, to show
Mm-hmm.
how they felt the disgust or the shame and things of that nature. And then, of course, when the door opened and he came out adjusting his pants, you know what I'm saying? That obviously was the cherry on the cake to showcase that, well, she was raped, she was sexually assaulted in that room.
Mm-hmm. Right,
It was a
right,
great scene. It was a great scene. But yeah, like I said, I all those things culminated is what really brought me to the place that I am today as a man. If I found it necessary for me to ground myself in how I understood the world in order for me to be who I am today. Truly.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely, most definitely. Um, yeah, see, I already asked you that one already. Okay, so can you share a personal experience where your faith and understanding of science complemented each other?
Complimented. Oh yeah, absolutely. So I love to find and I love to find complexities in simple things. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true, right? Like if you look at the door latch, when I say door latch, I mean literal door latch. If you look at the door latch when you're going to, I don't know how old you are, but at one point in time, doors when I was growing up didn't have the little doorknob lock. They had this latch that you would lift up and
Wait a minute,
move
how
left
old
or
are
right.
you?
I'm 37.
Oh, okay, because I know I had a doorknob. I was 44. I'm like, you talking about doors that have knobs? We had knobs.
No, no, no. I'm not saying the knobs didn't exist. The lock on the knob itself, or if they did exist, they were only considered a luxury for people that had money. If you wanted to lock a door at that point in time, I'm not talking about outside your home, I'm talking about in your home. If you wanted to lock a door in your home, you had to have this thing. It was like a little latch that you would lift up and move
I
left or right
understand
before
that.
putting it
I
back down.
understand the latch, but I don't think that's true for us over here on the West Coast.
It's not. That might be true for. Yeah, you're right. I'm speaking specifically to, of course, the New York perspective, and of course, my poverty-stricken neighborhood. We only had the latches in the projects. We didn't have like door locks or doorknob locks inside our home. We only had doorknob locks when it came to entering the house. So from the outside into the home, you had that lock, and then you have the deadbolts and all that stuff. But once you're in the home, none of the doors had doorknob locks. They were just standard doorknobs, and then you had the latch if you wanted to lock the door from the inside. And of course, then they got all weird, really weird, and had the little hook latch that you put inside the little loophole. Anywho, the complexity in that is what made that so interesting to me, right? Because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, there's this thing. It's very simple. You pick it up, slide it right, hold it, put it down, and then of course the door is now unable to be opened unless you use brute force to do so, right? And I would always sit there and ask myself, well, how or why did someone think to create such a simple device for such a pivotal reason, right? Like you put so much trust in such a small device for this reason, is to secure the room, right? Obviously, it's difficult to negotiate and things of that nature, but it's not impossible to get around that type of technology. It's very simple, right? Now, Jay, where you going with this? How does this intersect your faith with I think you said science specifically.
Right. How does it complement? How does science complement your faith?
Right. So at that point, I would look at the latch and say to myself, well, something so small secures or gives someone so precious a sense of security, because I believe in the preciousness of all life, right? Like there's a certain level of value that comes with human life, in my opinion. We're trusting, we put all of our faith, if you will, in such a small device to secure someone within that room. You get what I'm saying? And I'm like, well, why would I put my faith in something so small? Like, it's super small. There's nothing really. Yes. Does it give you a sense of security? Sure. It keeps the door closed, but realistically, that's not an impossible thing to overcome if someone truly wanted to cause me harm. You get what I'm saying? But then it hit me like a ton of bricks. This thing wasn't engineered to keep me from being able to be caused harm, but to give me the sense of security for privacy, to keep me from being exposed to anyone who would just barge into the room itself. You know what I'm saying? Now, what does that have to do with science? There's a line of science called engineering, right? That's a type of science, engineering, right? Some engineer sat around and thought to himself, how could I create a sense of privacy for a person, utilizing as little as humanly possible to keep this space secure? Right?
Right.
And as a Christian man,
who created that thing?
You say that again?
I gotta look up who created that thing.
I'm telling you. Anyway, and then it dawned on me. Well, how could I? And this is me, of course, scaling this way up. How could I then? This is me as a Christian, perceive myself and my security with the spaces that I exist in. I have a very thin sense of security. At any point in time, I could be attacked. Somebody could approach me. Obviously, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'1", 300 pounds, and I stay with my gun at all times, literally, right? At all times. It would be difficult to do something to me, but there's nothing stopping someone from doing something to me. You get what I'm saying? The only thing that has me under the impression that I am safe is the belief that I am. I have a sense of security within myself. You see what I'm saying? Likewise, I also have that sense of security in that small lock. There's nothing stopping anyone from just pushing. You don't even have to kick it. You can just push it with your hand and that latch just comes off.
Right.
And boom, you're just exposed to whoever it is that wants to walk in that room. In instances like those, I tend to find comfort. Like, we're literally expressing, I'm speaking as a Christian, of course, we're literally expressing our faith in ways very similar to what it is we execute throughout our lives. Like, there's nothing stopping me literally from, like, I put all trust in my vehicle. I drive a Silverado, right? I put all trust in my Silverado, right? And obviously a Silverado is much more complex than the latch on the door. You feel me? But all cars run the same way. They got 4 tires, right? They got 4 tires with air on them. I had a friend of mine tell me, his name is Eduardo. Shout out to you, E. I hope you're doing well. He told me straight up and down that tires expand and heat up throughout the summer months, and they're more susceptible to exploding. And you're literally just driving around in trust that your tires are not going to blow up. And I never stopped for a minute. I'm 37. I never stopped for a minute to think, like, holy shit. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I never stopped for a minute to think. I never stopped for a minute to think, like, oh my God, I'm driving around in this machine on balloons, quite literally riding around on balloons. When I tell you I had an entire existential crisis, I had an entire existential crisis in that vehicle at that point in time. What grounded me was, well, it hasn't happened thus far. Like, what kept those tires from blowing out catastrophically all four and me dying was just my acceptance of the fact that it's okay. I'm putting my faith and trust in the person that may have engineered those tires, put them together. They did the work to facilitate the safety while I traveled, whether in the winter or in the summertime when those tires expand. You tracking what I'm saying? Likewise. Likewise. Again, these are just parallels. Likewise, the compliment comes in with my faith in the same way. I'm walking around to and from. I done had situations where the police put a gun to my head, like literally. Like I'm not talking about I did anything wrong. I was walking at night. That's what I was guilty of. I was walking at night. I've had situations where I could absolutely be dead. I believe it to be divine intervention. You know what I'm saying? There was no reason for those cops to see the human in me in that situation because they put their gun to a 17-year-old's head. They didn't see me as human in that moment. So why didn't they pull the trigger? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Why didn't they pull the trigger? Likewise, it's for the same reason that I had that experience with my tires not exploding. There's a sense of trust within myself that I have. Like, yo, I know I'm going to be good regardless of the situation. Whether something catastrophic happens or it doesn't, I'm going to operate in faith to keep moving. In situations such as science and my faith itself, I'm constantly reminded on a continual basis, that everything's going to be okay. I sit back and I think about stuff such as, are you familiar with, and I don't want to insult your intelligence, I'm pretty sure you are. You sound incredibly smart. Post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Dr. Joy DeGruy.
Exactly. Okay, so you already got it. Got it. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. And she speaks to the fact that within our genes, that trauma exists from slavery, right? Like there's literally we have it deep within our genes. And nobody ever stops to think about, well, why would we have that in our genes? Well, recently, this is within the last 7 to 8 months, I conducted a study just researching, because I like I said, I'm a system administrator for Homeland Security. So I'm in technology, right? I'm in tech. I recently did a study to figure out DNA as a storage medium. I didn't understand the technology or anything like that. It was 3 months in the making of me researching.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
It makes sense. You know what? I thought of it as because I took a little science before I changed my major to business. I was working on my BSN for nursing, so I took a couple of classes like anatomy, physiology, microbiology, human development. What's the other ones? All the science classes, psychology, all the prerequisites that you need, right?
Right.
So I always looked at DNA as a type of code, because also I got my certificate in computer information specialist, and every now and then, like if I'm bored.
This is dope. This is going to be a dope conversation. Okay. So DNA in and of itself is not the code. It's the storage medium that holds the code.
Right, because then you have to think about like the RNA,
Yes, exactly. So the doctor stated, she actually gave the analogy of a black woman speaking to a white woman, and they both have their children present, right? The white woman compliments the black woman on her child and says, well, your child is so well behaved. He's so well behaved. And the black woman said, oh, girl, he's so bad. He's just bad. He get into trouble and all of that stuff. Right. Yeah, and it tears that. Right. Exactly. Now, where does that fear come from? You see what I'm saying? That stems from
enslaved or casualties of war.
Exactly.
The war.
Absolutely. So that information is programmed within. You see what I'm saying? Programmed within. And I stopped to myself. I'm like, well, wow. Programmed within. How in the world? We talking about generation. Now, I'm not one to argue against scientific information like evolution and things of that nature. I'm not against it, right? But it causes me to think. It causes me to think. Now, scientists purport that life started from a single organism, right? Single cell organism, right?
I don't know.
Now, now I'm of the cloth. I'm just using my common sense in the both one, a representative in tech, and two, someone that is familiar with a fair amount of biology, right?
Right, you're breaking up just a little bit. That storm coming your way.
I'm pretty familiar, is what I'll say, right? Now, if we know for a fact that no organism of any kind, complex or simple, can do nothing unless it is coded to be able to express that thing, right? And all organisms have the ability to adapt. Well, how was the first organism able to adapt if it was supposed to be coded to adapt? Exactly. And I was sitting there, I'm looking at this from the perspective of course, again, I'm in tech. You know what I'm saying? I'm in tech. I've been doing IT now for 15 years. This is no exaggeration. I've been doing this for years, literal years. I'm looking at this from the perspective of I understand code. I decided to start looking at all of the comparisons, the similarities between DNA and code. I started looking at the various types of code and whether there's so many similarities that blew my mind. Nonetheless, I found myself being invigorated in my faith, like, oh my God, like, and it even gives some kind of.
It's an intelligent design then.
But it speaks to more so at a minimum something programming this first organism. You get at a minimum. You get what I'm saying? Because again, no organism can just adapt without first being programmed to adapt to begin with. This is just a fact. This is a biological fact. I didn't make this up. That's just what it is. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So I find myself.
If you look at not to cut you off or anything, because you is on the road, but just as an example, if you look at certain GMO animals and foods, when they cross like genes and DNA, then they're not able to produce, and they're not able to.
Exactly. Exactly. Consider the case of there's the donkey and the horse, the mule. It can't have children of its own. It can't. You can't breed.
Right. So that code is missing. Yeah.
The code is messed. The code is messed. Exactly. The code is messed up. You're absolutely right. So I find myself in these situations, like, it invigorates my faith. Like this, going back to the original question, how does it complement my faith? In those instances, I find myself feeling much more confident, you know what I'm saying, in my faith as a result of finding information such as that. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow, the idea that there's programming, and I would love to, I've actually had a debate about this recently, but I would love to sit down and talk to a person about the programming of the mind, because it's the literal same thing. Because we're talking about advertising, even, right? Advertising is programming.
Life
you don't want
in the power of the tongue. That's how.
Come on, now you starting to talk to me. You starting to talk to me.
My dad taught me this stuff. Sure.
So
he used to tell me how to do self-suggestion and everything. So when I first started college or whatever, I was like tanking in, a lot of things. I wasn't getting the grades that I wanted when I went to college. So then I was talking to my dad because I was so disgusted with myself. And then he told me, positive suggestions. That was his main thing. Positive suggestions. Because, I get nervous when it comes to taking tests. So what I ended up doing is creating my own mantra. Every night, read, retain, recite, or something like that, right? And I regurgitate. I can't remember exactly what the words was, but to retain, read, retain, and be able to, bring it back up out of my process. So I did that, and baby, I started getting straight A's. I started getting on the dean's list consecutively for 3 semesters or whatever you want to call it. Got scholarships, all kind of stuff.
Right. It's really wild to think about. It's really wild to think about, and I don't think we ever really stopped to think about that. We actually just started to, as a human society, we actually
Mm,
just started to really consider these things for what they are. That's why you see the biggest influx of people manifesting and practicing manifestations, or the other one is affirmations. You get what I'm saying? Because we're realizing that it literally takes you programming your mind in order for you to do things differently. There's this thing, psychologists coined it ironic reversal theory, because it's impossible for the brain to do anything in the negative, right? Like if I
mm.
tell you not to think of a pink elephant right now, the first thing that
You're
pops
gonna
in your
think
brain
about a pink
is
elephant.
the pink elephant. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
first.
what that's what my dad was saying when he was talking about positive suggestions. Like try, I have to say the word, but try not to use words like not, can't, won't, can't. Anything that's negative. It's like
Right.
I will, I am, I do. You know what I mean? You
Correct.
can't say words like I can't. Well, I'm saying can't, but I mean I don't want to say it no more.
No, I
Anyway,
get you. I get you. It's
yeah.
it's an amazing phenomenon. I can't remember who described it. It was in the University of Berkeley though, where a psychologist was talking about skiing, and he was saying, well, every time I told myself not to look at the trees, I looked dead at the trees. But the minute I told myself just look at the path, I no longer saw the trees and only seeing where I needed to go. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason, the brain can't receive things in the negative. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work
Mm,
that way. It only receives things to the affirmative. So, and the point of me saying any of this is that we have the ability to be programmed, not just in a very literal sense as a result of our reality, but even down to our genes. And just that information alone complements my faith in a way that I could never be able to actually express to you, that I'm super grateful for. Like it, it,
what the
it
Bible
really
say?
blows my mind.
Be renewed and transformed.
By the renewing of your mind, you're 100% right. You're
Hmm.
100% right. By the renewing of your mind, that's a fact. That's a fact. But I find
Hmm.
myself complimenting. I find my faith in science being complimented in instances such as though. I didn't mean to be so long-winded, but it's
It's
something I'm
okay.
really
You
passionate
just
about.
talking. I'm not
Yeah, I'm
even
super passionate
really
about
going
it.
off my notes here. I'm just talking to you because it's something I'm interested in.
Yeah, it's just something I'm really passionate about. Like I take it super seriously. Case in point, recently my daughter, she's 14. She's actually in the process of becoming a dentist. As crazy as
Mm.
that sounds, she made that decision at 6 years old. Not
Wow.
exaggerating that. Not exaggerating that.
I wish
But
I had it
nonetheless,
all together at that age.
she
She
had
had
she got it figured. I wish I had it like
it.
that, but she got it figured out, right? So we got this whole thing set up with Texas A&M, all of that, blah blah blah,
Mm,
right?
mm,
What I decided to do, right, because I'm aware of this new perception or perspective concerning the way the brain works, how it's programmed, and how we internalize things. I
mm,
decided to utilize AI, and I used AI to make her. I took a picture of her as she is now as a child, and I
mm,
asked AI to create images of her as a dentist so that
mm,
she could see and program her mind. She could already envision herself in the role itself. You get what I'm saying? Instead
mm,
of me, I took the principles of advertising, right? Like
mm,
when you're driving down the highway and you see a billboard with delicious fried chicken, then two
mm,
minutes later, you're like, man, I could really eat some fried chicken right now. And you're not even
mm,
thinking about the fact that you saw it on that billboard. I'm using
mm,
that same principle of programming from advertising to
mm,
see that it happens within my daughter. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
To my surprise, this girl literally made it her phone's wallpaper. I didn't expect it
mm,
to be as impactful. You get what I'm saying? But it's
mm,
the point that I'm making is I don't really think we understand just how much power we have. Not just under the idea of control in our reality and things of that nature, but the ability to affect other people's lives. Out of you get what I'm saying? And like you
right.
referenced earlier, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and
Mm-hmm.
we spend so much time utilizing it to the negative that we don't see just how much greater we can make things be to the positive if we utilized it correctly. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Understood 100%. I also wanted to bring about too because you know, life and death is in the power of the tongue. Also, there was one more scripture I wanted to bring out, and it just escaped me just now. Oh, because I was watching this show the other day, right? It's a Christian show, and they had like this ex witch on there, and she was saying stuff like manifestation was demonic. She was saying wait a minute. She was saying calling yourself a goddess is demonic. She was saying that when black women wear the waist beads, that's demonic. And I'm looking at her and the TV looking at me, and I'm like, but she got a whole lace front on. That's not demonic.
Yeah, something I think a lot of people miss, and I get it. I understand. I'm very empathetic to it, but a lot of people miss the mark, I'm gonna say, by looking at things as looking at the world and how it should be through the lens of how we want to be. Does that make sense? We'll put our restrictions and our adherences and our inability to do certain things onto other people. You feel me? And I understand it. Like, you have to protect yourself, make sure you're not doing what caused you conviction. You feel me? Don't ever violate your own conscience. But the idea that you would use that as a tool to limit the freedom of another, it's a little bit that, to me, I don't agree with that. You feel me? I myself.
Let me tell you why I brought that up, though, because this is supposed to be a Christian channel, right? And everybody's supposed to Christianity. When people mention Christianity, I'm thinking they read the Bible or whatever. If you're a Christian, you Bible based, right? It's 2 scriptures in the Bible that say we are gods. 2. One is in Psalms, right? And the other one, Jesus Christ reiterated that we were gods. So how is it demonic if I said I'm a goddess, if the Most High said I'm a god?
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's her inability. No, you're fine. I cut you off. I'm sorry. It's what you witnessed in that situation. I think Jay-Z said it best. He was talking about his uncle telling him he can't do something. And he was like, no, you can't do it. And you're telling me I can't do it because you can't do it. You're putting your limitation on me. I'm very big. I'm incredibly big on allowing a person the freedom to be themselves. Like, if you're not violating royal law, according to Christian law, if you're not violating royal law, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Like, we good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to eat a termite, eat a termite. You're not doing nothing wrong. Like, I don't get the problem. You know what I'm saying? If you're not violating royal law, we ain't got nothing to discuss. And a lot of people tend to ignore that, and they try to make the world more comfortable around themselves. It's no different than what we see today with mental health and people saying, oh, I'm triggered. And they expect you to adjust to not trigger them instead of them managing their own triggers. You get what I'm saying? Your triggers are your responsibility. It's not my responsibility.
My daddy always say, don't let your trigger my trigger, my nigga.
Yeah.
That's what my daddy be saying. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use that, Dad. I used it too. Don't let your trigger my trigger, my nigga. Shit. But you know what I think though too? Like, because black people are in such a state of loss or whatever, I felt, because it wasn't just the lady on the show, it was the people in the chat. They was rebuking being gods. They didn't want to be gods.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. But I honestly, it comes from a place of, and I always ask people, because when the Bible says that we were given dominion, what does that mean to you? Right? I always ask them that. Always. Because to take away the authority that you were given by God himself is to render yourself slothful, because you have a legit responsibility to the world that you live in and take from. You know what I'm saying? You have an actual responsibility. And in many cases, people at large, and we're not talking about just today, but historically, people at large tend to try to default to rejecting responsibility because they don't want what's the word I'm looking for? They reject the responsibility because they don't want the consequence that could befall them in the event that they make a mistake. You get what I'm saying?
Accountability.
Exactly. We find ourselves in a situation where we want all the luxuries, we want everything to feel good, but we don't want any of the responsibility or consequences. And in situations like that, things become very unbalanced. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't have it all one way. It's impossible. You can't have it all one way. Yeah, you can sit here and eat all the apples off that tree, but eventually you're gonna have to feed that motherfucker and make sure that it bears more fruit. Forgive me, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to feed it to make sure that it bears more fruit, or not, you're not gonna get any more fruit from it. You get what I'm saying? There's a sense of responsibility that comes along with that. And a lot of people tend to avoid that because they don't want the responsibility. It's almost like we become very childlike in mind, avoiding our responsibilities, just avoiding it. Like, yo, nah, don't call me a god. It comes with a great responsibility. I think it's a Spider-Man reference. He said, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, that's true. You get what I'm saying? The old adage goes, to whom much is given, much is expected. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't want that. They don't want the responsibility that goes along with it. If you gave any average Joe the ability to just coast through life without really lifting a finger or having to worry about anything, they would take that without thinking twice. They would take it without thinking twice because they would choose their comfort over the responsibility that goes with it. We got people such as, and I'm gonna use some historical references, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna land my plane. I'm wordy, forgive me. We got people such as Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, who I would argue accepted the role of being godly in order to exact their responsibility towards mankind and the world. You understand what I'm saying? Going beyond the Black community, we got examples such as, excuse me, we got examples such as John F. Kennedy, or what is it? God help me, the president. It's escaping me at the moment. But we got examples such as John F. Kennedy. You know what I'm saying? We got examples. It's escaping me. I can't. No, he's a white president. Michael Jackson referenced him in the song They Don't Really Care About Us. It's escaping me at the moment.
Richard Nixon?
No, God, no.
Not Ronald Reagan.
He referenced the president and They Don't Really Care About Us, and it's escaping me. Oh my God. The point that I'm making is these people, president? He was a good president. Yes, he was.
President Roosevelt.
Was it Roosevelt?
That was only between them two. Them only two I know that was I don't trust none of them, to be honest.
Nah, I mean, yeah, I don't trust any politician in general, but let's see if I can figure it out real quick while I'm at it.
Roosevelt came out with the brand new deal. He stopped the Depression.
It was Roosevelt. Yep, it was Roosevelt. It was Roosevelt.
You know why I know? Because he born on my birthday. Hey. What happened? We lost him. Hold on, you guys.
There we go. I'm sorry, I got disconnected. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Is it coming down over there?
Yeah, it kind of cut out. I don't know if the towers are down or if they're working on them or something. But it was Roosevelt. It was Roosevelt.
Yeah,
it was Roosevelt.
On my birthday.
Yeah. So to go, the point that I'm making is going outside the community. We always find throughout history these people who accept the charge. You know what I'm saying? And they accept their role in society. They just step into it because, like, if nobody does it, it's never going to get done. You get what I'm saying? But you see, at large, people tend to just forsake that responsibility because they don't want the trouble. They don't want to have to deal with the consequences. And on one hand, I get it because it's not easy. This shit is terrifying, especially as a man, especially as a Black man. That shit is terrifying. Knowing that you have the lives of other people in your hand on a continual basis every day, knowing that you if you don't do it, then your whole family fails. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's really not. So I understand people shying away, but I don't make any exception for anyone trying to put their shackles on another person because your limitations are not mine and vice versa. I have no problem being empathetic to you. I have no problem giving you the room to be comfortable around me, but I'm not going to let you determine the quality of my life.
Well, it's not right to put everything on one individual. And I think we had a conversation about this a while ago, not me and you, but on one of these shows we did. Because just because you're on the forefront doesn't mean, everybody has a position to play. Everybody has a role. Collectively, we come together and we become the body. This is what the body of Christ is about. understanding your role, the part you play, and just do that. You know, but nobody want to play a part. You know what I'm saying? Somebody withers at their part. Like when you was mentioning Malcolm X or Dr. Martin Luther King, or we could even talk about the Black Panther. It was always one of us that fumbled the ball when all they had to do was do their part. What happened? Are you there, J Fax?
No, I'm here. I am here. I hear everything. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It does take a collective effort, and like I said, most people are shying away from that. They don't want. We're too busy and too focused on wanting to be saved that we don't stop to think for a minute that we are the ones that are saving. You get what I'm saying? We focus, even looking at it as a Christian, right? Even looking at it from a Christian perspective, we're so focused on just the Savior that we don't realize that we have an intricate part to play in our own salvation. You get what I'm saying? The Bible literally verbatim says, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. It verbatim says, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And the reason it says that is because I think you said communal effort, because it is. It's a communal effort. We have to consider the fact that from the Christian perspective, we're co-laborers. While there's a part that God does, we also have a part that we do too. You get what I'm saying? And in majority of cases, we tend to just drag our feet or don't lift the finger at all and leave the ball in God's court, which it's a forsaking of your responsibility.
Our work is dead, so I don't know.
Facts.
Good luck with
Facts
that.
all day. Facts all day.
And you know
Facts.
what dead really mean, right? It means
Talk
to
to
be
me.
separated from God.
Yes, because God is life. I agree. According to scripture, anything, what I've learned, this is another thing too, which I find amazing. Anything that exists, the opposite of such is without that thing. Like
Right.
darkness is just the absence of light.
Light.
You get what I'm saying? So I agree with you wholeheartedly. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, I hope they. So I'm not a Christian. I don't claim Christianity. I do identify as an Israelite or whatever. I don't want to say oh whatever, but it's, I
Not,
identify as
not
an
if you're
Israelite.
Israelite, how's about this? How about I greet you? Shalom, sister. How are you?
Shalom, I'm good.
All right.
But so I don't agree with every single ideology the so-called Hebrew Israelite, because not even supposed to be Hebrew Israelites, it's just supposed to be Israelite. But the so-called Hebrew Israelites, I don't agree with us all of their doctrine, but I do believe that we are God's chosen people of the Bible. So let me move on to the next question because I forgot where I was going with that.
No, you're good. I was gonna say I hear you. I'm not one of those people who reject a person's identity. And this is why I love my own faith, right? And I told you it took me reading it for myself for me to find myself. You get what I'm saying? Who am I to tell you that you're not the Hebrew? If you read that text, right, and you're able to identify and firmly root yourself in faith with the Messiah as to who you are, who am I to tell you that you're not that? Who am I to get up on some kind of pious position to be like, no, that's crazy. That's crazy. I'm not gonna do that.
Well, because it's just like little clues inside the Bible to really let us know who we are. Like I said, the Bible is very definitive on certain things.
Absolutely.
And when they talk about the Israelite people and describe the things that they've been through, the way that they dress, the way their appearance, the way their skin look, all these things only point to one people. It don't point to the so-called Jewish people in Israel. It don't describe them. It describes the descendants of chattel slavery. I'm not going to even say American slave trade because we was scattered among all across the coast of America, like in the Mexico, like South Mexico, Canada, and all that stuff, Jamaica. So it's not just America, but those are the people. You get what I'm saying?
Right. No, I get exactly what you're saying. I do.
Okay, so now How can we encourage a more literate society that both values science and spiritual exploration?
Oh man, what a question.
Hmm. I'm back to
um, I'm gonna say it starts at home, right? And a lot of parents, and myself included. I'm a black man, so I'm gonna speak to the black plight, right? A lot of parents in the black community, we don't take a super hands-on position with our kids, or even worse, we replicate that which our parents did to us. You get what I'm saying? We just repeat exactly what our parents did to us. Something that I had to accept. This was literally as a result of my third daughter being born, is that we're dealing with actual factual human beings with their own identities, their own thought processes, their own perspective on life. You know what I'm
Mhm,
saying? They're going to have their own challenges, they're going to have their own experiences, and we should be teaching them according to that. There's no cookie cutter way to address the issue of literacy. However, it does start at home. So, case in point, in my own home, what I like to do is appeal to what each child has an interest in, right? My youngest daughter, God bless her. I love this little girl so much because she's just like me. She loves to read. She actually just started a business. True
mhm,
story.
mhm,
She's 6 years old. Kalani's six. She's seven. Kadima's six. She just
mhm,
turned 6 years. She's 7 years old.
mhm.
And she started a business, a bookmark business, and she reads online to other little kids. She,
Oh,
yeah,
I
she
like
reads.
that.
Yeah, that's her business. She just started this business. It's really dope, right?
That's
So
wonderful.
it was easy for me to appeal to that because that's literally me from my youth on up. You know, I love to read. I love
Mhm,
science, and she's very into like engineering. It's very interesting to watch her grow because we're a lot alike, even though she's a female. Um, I appeal to each kid's interest. That's her
mhm,
interest. My oldest daughter is heavily into tech and fashion. You get what I'm
mhm,
saying? It would behoove me to put her in a position to have to read things that pertain to such in order to craft or sharpen or cultivate her literacy. Do you see where I'm going with this? I feel
mhm,
like if we appeal to their interests, we can find out how they learn and help them to grow in that avenue. That's what I believe. But the only way really to read better is to continually read and
mhm.
practice.
Right.
But I feel like it becomes easier once you appeal to their interests. It just, to me, it just makes sense.
Mhm,
Concerning spirituality, it's the same thing. Like they're going to find their way. And this is me referencing the Bible again.
mhm.
Um, Raise up a child in the way that it should go and it won't depart
And
from it.
they
You know what I'm
depart
saying?
from it. Mhm,
Right. It won't depart from it. It's best to, of course, give the kids those tenets for them to find themselves in line with royal law so that they can exact the things that the Most High looks to from them. You get what I'm
mhm,
saying? And everything also fall into place. That's from where I'm standing. I'm not going to force one thing I do not do. And I fully believe in the age of understanding according to the book of Nehemiah. I don't know
mhm,
exact chapter and verse right now, but there
mhm,
is an age of understanding, and it's not a definitive number, but you can tell when a person can understand a thing according to the book, right?
mhm,
I'm not going to force a thing on someone who can't comprehend it. And I certainly
mhm,
can't give it to them in a way that they won't comprehend it, which is why I have the method that I do now. So, in my
mhm,
personal opinion, I feel like we should take a more hands on approach. We should
mhm,
appeal to their interests and make sure that we're teaching them according to their interests and just give them the room to continually read, because the more you read, the more you learn. You literally can't figure out how to do math. You can't learn history. You can't do anything if you do not know how to read. It's the most fundamental skill that any human being can have. So there's
mhm,
no reason why we're only 11% to 14% of the population with 23 to 24% of illiteracy in the entire country. That doesn't make any sense.
mhm,
It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Mathematically, that's insane. That's insane. That's insane.
mhm,
And I feel like we could do a lot better, and it's starting to turn around. From what I can see, it's
mhm,
starting to turn around with these kids because they're so smart. If you just sit back and watch how they move compared to how we move, they
mhm.
run in circles around us. They're running circles around us.
I
I
don't know.
actually
I'm
do.
a little futuristic. I don't know about me.
Like I saw a young couple, they had to be like 25, and they bought a 7-bedroom, big, huge house. I mean, tremendous house. And I was so happy for them because I'm like, wow, like that was unfathomable for my generation. It was even unfathomable for my parents. You get what I'm saying? The idea that things are getting better is a huge indication that we're doing something right, and we just need to keep doing that.
Okay, let me get back to him. I'm sorry. So literacy is often seen as a cornerstone of education. How does literacy influence one's understanding of both science and religion?
Oh man. So I love Alan Keyes for this. He was the Assistant Secretary of State. He made this quote. He said, "Human beings reason by means of concepts and definitions. If you don't operate with respect to definitions, then you can't. We also write laws according to definition. If you can't operate within respect to those definitions, then you can't write the law, right?
Boundaries, a line need to be drawn.
Exactly. The way we define things categorizes and constructs our entire way of life. Literally. The way we define things categorizes and constructs our entire way of life. That's just the way it is. The more we understand how to read, the more we'll be able to comprehend what things are categorically. We're not even talking about some abstract way. If I don't know how to read, I can't possibly know how to properly construct what a thing is, because the what is found in how we define them. You get what I'm saying? And definitions are found in a book.
You know, my dad, when I was a kid, this guy, I've been talking about my dad this whole time. I love my dad.
So I was about to say, I love your father. Based on the stories you told me so far, I love your father.
When I was a kid, man, my brother, he's like a jock. He used to play basketball all the time. I love to read. So one day I go to the little library, go get me one of my favorite books, and I'm flipping through it. I see $5, $10 bill. I'm like, Daddy, it's money in this book. He like, you can have it. And then he told me, he said, if you want to hide something from a nigga, put it in the book. That's what white folks say all the time. He said, so make sure, you know, don't let the motherfucker hide nothing from you. Right. But that's how you find out stuff. They gonna tell you everything. They say everything on TV, but they really gonna write it down. Yeah. Because they know black folks ain't gonna read it. And people be so mad at me because, you know, I worked for the government, you know, I worked for the county, I worked for the city, I've done all these things. And I'm the type of person, I read every single guideline, I read every single bylaw, I read everything. Whatever, you know, a lot of our people miss out on stuff because they choose not to read.
Yep. That's precisely it. I don't think we understand just how fundamental reading is. Like we're talking about our entire way of life. Our entire way of life, it's found in what we consume through text. That's just what it is. That's just what it is.
It's not just the reading too. It's about comprehension. Because I know a lot. Like when my youngest two were going, my youngest two children were going to school. They had some program out here. I don't know if it's the No Child Left Behind or whatever, but it was like a reading thing where they were basing the children's reading off the speed only. Like, what about the comprehension? Do they know what they read? Do they understand what they read?
Wow.
Children to read fast.
Wow. I don't even know what to say to that. But that doesn't surprise me, right? Like, that doesn't surprise me. I lack faith in our education system. And this is not me bashing the education system in any way, shape, or form. I grew up in the public education system. I'm not bashing it. I'm just pointing out where it's not working, right? I lack faith in it because it's not the same institution that I once grew up with. And this isn't to say that it was better when I was in school than it is today, because in my opinion, these kids have a lot more available to them than we did when I was growing up. However, it seems like the trade-off was, okay, we'll take away something and give you something else instead of we'll add to what already exists. You get what I'm saying? Right. And they love to argue funding and things of that nature. And I understand that our taxes pay for the schools in our areas and things of that nature. But there's a huge problem that a lot of people don't really get to address to that effect of funding. And that's a whole nother conversation. We'd have to have a whole nother show to really discuss the issues there. But my issue with that is more so the school system itself. It seemed to be focused on success rate and not actual effectiveness. They're focused on success rate, not effectiveness. What I mean by that is, if I can just get these numbers of graduates up, regardless of whether or not these graduates can read, regardless of whether or not these graduates can conduct themselves in a workplace or know how to do taxes or anything for that matter, regardless of the fact that these people don't know how to take care of themselves, they took out home ec. They got rid of automotive, the shop. They got rid of all these things that would normally add to a person's quality of life. All these things are gone. So now we're just putting people out into the world that just successfully graduated, but they're not effective to society. You see what I'm saying?
Right. And they barely do, like, nutrition or recess or nothing like that. They barely have kids going outside. It's just crazy.
Right. And granted, I don't want to beat again. I'm not against the system, because I do believe that some things are required in our homes. We should be doing these things in our homes. But a lot of people leave out the fact that most Black families are working to pay their bills. They are working. They don't have the time to be home. And then when they do get home, they're so damn tired that they don't have the opportunity to really address the things that they need to with their children. So they rely on these outside services such as public school or daycare and things of that nature to fill in the gaps. You get what I'm saying?
That's been the biggest, to me, that was the biggest destroyer of our whole Black family dynamic. Because, but I don't want to get too deep into that. But
listen, you can always bring me back on again and we can discuss it.
Right, because like mothers going out into the workforce, there's just a little synapse. It caught you leaving your kids with strangers, number one. Or you might be leaving your kid with somebody you think you may trust, but you can't really trust everybody. Then your child end up with some type of trauma, because you're out there constantly working instead of being a mom at home, nurturing the children and all that stuff. So it ends up, it became this domino effect. Now we got a world full of children who's confused about their sexuality and if they're a woman or a man.
And you in here preaching? Oh my God. I agree completely. It's funny, people always say it takes a village to raise a child, but don't stop to talk about the fact that the Black village was destroyed. We never talk about that. Oh, it takes a village. I don't know what the dude is. I can't remember his name. He out of Baltimore. And he was like, what if the village is fucking contaminated or something to that effect? And he was right. Like, we can't say it takes a village when the village itself needs to be repaired. You see what I'm saying?
It definitely do. And I'm glad my village is strong. The village that I'm from. It's unfortunate it didn't spread across the United States. My village is solid, but at the same time, like, everybody want to be. I don't get it, because it's okay to be an individual, right? It's fine to be your individual self, but at the same time, like I said, like we're a body of people. So you could be a foot and I could be the hand, but at some point you got to remember that you're the foot and the hand, so we can operate together to form the body. You know what I'm saying? Other parts, the elbow, knees. You know how the body is. It comes together. So I feel like a lot of people just want to be the foot by themselves or the head by themselves. I don't know.
Man, no, you're right. You're 100% right. I agree with you. I agree with you. But that comes full circle back to what we were discussing in the beginning, right? About identity and really reading for ourselves, or even looking for ourselves to find out where our place is in society, so that we don't. It's like trying to put together a puzzle without looking at what the picture is before doing so. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna find yourself putting pieces where they don't belong. You're gonna find yourself putting pieces where they don't belong. I agree with you completely.
And I think that's what's happening right now. A lot of stuff. So, can you address the skepticism some people have towards religion due to scientific advancements?
Oh man, so it's difficult to try to put all of the skepticism on science, right? Especially when you consider the fact that a lot of our scientific advancements is literally thanks to those who share the same faith as me. You know what I'm saying? Take for example, Francis Bacon, who created the scientific method. You get what I'm saying? He literally created the scientific method, and he was a full-on Anglican. You get what I'm saying? So it's very interesting to me that people tend to hinge skepticism on science when science is not opposed to God, not even close, not even a little bit.
I try to
Not even
tell people that every scientific discovery that we know to this day was already written in the scripture, and that is why that particular scientist went on that journey. Try to prove the Bible wrong, end up proving it right.
And that's falling right into it. And I'm falling right into it. But yeah, it's interesting to me that people try to hinge the skepticism for religion at large on science. I don't think that's the case. So Lao Tzu has a quote, and I just said this earlier today, right? Lao Tzu has a quote. He states, absence of desire, you see the mystery. However, the presence of desire, you see the manifestation. What he means by that is what you want to see, you're going to see. If you go into a situation looking for something, you're going to find exactly what you're looking
shall
for.
Find. What?
Exactly. You're going to find
too.
exactly what you're looking for. Exactly. You're going to find exactly what you're looking for. So from my personal perspective, is skepticism only exists in those who are already skeptical. I can't tell you. You're going to find whatever you want to use to justify the reasons for why you're a skeptic. You get what I'm saying? And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, then that's just what you want to do. But to say that your skepticism is because of this or because of that is, in my personal opinion, not just wrong, but it's intellectually reckless, because your perspective of it is what causes you. How is it that we looking at the same thing and come out with two different results? You see what I'm saying?
A lot of reasons why that happens.
You see what I'm saying?
The gang of time, I'm like, you didn't see the same thing I saw. No.
It comes down to desire. It really does. It comes down to desire. You wanted to see it that way, and I wanted to see it this way. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that definitively makes, going back to what Alan Key stated, the only thing that definitively makes either one of us right or wrong is based on the concept and definition by which we observe it. You get what I'm saying? Because again, definitions construct our entire way of life. That's just what it is. So I personally can't say in any way, shape, or form, and I wouldn't nowhere near stand on the idea that science is the cause of skepticism and why nobody wants to have.
No, how would you address them though? How would you address the skeptics?
I honestly, I don't. I choose one of two routes, right? When someone comes to me skeptical of a thing with their reasons for why they're skeptical, I have two ways that I approach it. I'm either going to, one, allow you to just be the skeptic, or two, I'm going to literally question you for why you're a skeptic. And the only thing that's going to determine whether or not I'm going to do that is whether or not I think you're sincerely searching for information or just being a clown. You know what I'm saying? Because in a lot of cases, people want to waste your time, or they're seeking to try to convince you of why they're a skeptic. Like, why are you trying to convince? If you're truly skeptical, why are you trying to convince me? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I'm in this atheist versus theist group, and the things the atheists be saying, and I'll be like, so who cares? Like, what?
It's really interesting to me, because I'm like, yo, are you trying to convince me, or are you trying to convince yourself? Because you're so gung. Exactly. Because I'm like, bro, I'm set. I'm telling you, I'm okay where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? I have my reasons for why I'm okay where I'm at. Why are you seeking to try to convince me? Unless you're just so that you're trying to find people to rally behind you to give you that confirmation bias that you seek. You're searching for someone to confirm what it is that you see. You see what I'm saying? And
what I recognize in a lot of these people, they're traumatized, they're angry, and the only thing that they think could release their trauma and everything that they've been through is to say there is no God, instead of saying that there is a God and the devil come for those people that are chosen by God, and you are a chosen person, and you are a survivor, and you live through your trauma, and you here to talk about your trauma, and you here to show how you got through it, but no, they want to stay traumatized And the only thing that makes sense, because I got done like this when I was 9 years old, my mama left me, my daddy left me, my cousin left me, my boyfriend left me.
Oh man,
Whatever,
the
whoever
word you,
upset you.
yes, the word that you're referencing and seeking there is authenticity. I spoke with an atheist recently. I don't want to say his name because this is his story and it's not my place to tell it, right?
Mm,
Um, but I spoke with him recently and we asked him collectively, well, why don't you believe? And he verbatim said, well, I don't have faith. I don't believe in God because of what I got going on in my life. He verbatim said that. And when I tell you that was the most refreshing thing I think I've ever heard in my life, to hear someone just say, I remove the idea of God from my life because of this is going on in my life, not because of, oh, I don't think God exists. Like, no, he didn't take that route. He just flat out said, well, this is why my life is this messed up, or this, my life is like this. And because of this, I don't have trust, faith, or belief in God. And I'm like, you know what? I can't even argue against that. At least you're being honest about why. You
mm,
actually have enmity with God. You're like, no, I've got this going on in my life. I'm not about to trust him. I get it. I can respect that so much more than you trying to come up with some trumped up idea of the fact that he doesn't exist. I can't get with that. That second thing I can't get with. The former I can get with all day. I think a lot of people, much like you said, they're traumatized and they're refusing to acknowledge that. They won't just admit, well, I got beef with him. I'm good on that.
yeah,
They
because
want to
like
admit that.
they went through like some type of rape, molestation. Because I work for DCFS, that's Department of Children and Family Services. So I used to work for them. I don't work for them anymore. But there, man, when I had to go through certain things, I would cry. Just working there, I would cry. Some of these children are getting abused so brutally, and they trying to figure out. So I'm not saying all, but some of the people that's like atheists and they might have experienced traumas like this. And the only thing that makes sense is there cannot be no God to allow me to go through that.
Right. Right. But this spins right back into what we were talking about concerning us being gods, right? The Bible talks about us having dominion and authority. Why are we not exacting the dominion and authority we have in order to rectify the issues that we see? Why are we seeking to put those problems into the hands of God instead of taking that problem into our own hands, knowing the fact that we're co-laborers with him? Like I said, it takes the burden of responsibility from the person. You get what I'm saying? It puts it, oh, it's your fault, God. No, it's not. Like, we can't say that. We can't say.
That's why Adam and Eve. Well, that's basically what
Woo,
Adam did.
that's exactly what you mean. Basic. That's exactly what his bum ass did. He was like, it was the woman you gave me.
Yeah, and the woman was supposed to be a gift. You didn't appreciate her because she went somewhere else, listened to somebody else.
Exactly.
Why is your wife going somewhere else, listen to a stranger? What you missed?
yo, that's a fact. That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. You're right. You're 100% right. It's very interesting to me. I'm one of those people, and I just said this in my debate as well. I said, look, regardless of what I do wrong, I can stand up firm and take responsibility for any of my actions because I'm just like that. That's just who I am. I'm not gonna allow myself to make excuses for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I did it, I did it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not gonna blame anybody else for my actions but me. You know what I'm saying? Likewise, if I can make a change and I'm sitting around complaining about what's not happening while I'm not doing the things that could make things better, then I'm just a hypocrite. I'm actually a waste of space and time. I'm eating up resources and wasting money that could be allocated to fixing the problem itself.
Right. I'm sorry. Right.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Can you provide examples of how scientific discoveries have influenced your own spiritual beliefs?
Oh yeah. I think the thing that really scientifically that really rocked me to my core, like it almost actually it shook me to my core, right? Because I didn't understand it, if I'm gonna be honest. I think at the time I was like, 18, 19 years old. It rocked me to my core. This is around the time when I really started to look into what evolution was.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, I'm being completely honest with you. I studied evolution for a single year, 1 year. And I just
Mhm.
thought I had it all figured out.
Right.
I thought I had it. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I had all the
I only did 2 anthropology. I couldn't do anthropology at all. At all. At all. I did 2 of those classes. I was like, oh, I can't do this no more.
I thought I had it figured out. And it rocked me to my core. I mean, to my core when I found out. And this is early on. This is before the advent of the single organism conversation, but we were talking about Neanderthals and things of that nature. Like I was 18 at the time, right? And throughout my whole life, throughout my entire life, and that's why I find it funny when people say, "Oh, they never did." I'm like, bro, I remember vividly. I still have the information to this day where they tried to make it seem as if black people were the missing link, like we were the connection between monkeys and white people. That they actually taught that, fam.
Yeah,
they actually taught that. You know what I'm saying? And that rocked me to my core because I'm like, what, yo? I was mad. I'm not gonna lie, I was mad. Like, there can't be no God. Like, how the hell? I'm a part monkey. They run around here saying I'm part monkey. And hilariously, years later, they found out that no black person has the Neanderthal gene, but white people do.
Right.
White people do. And suddenly they want to clean up the whole narrative. Oh, Neanderthals were kind of smart. They changed up their entire approach. They used to call Neanderthals dumb and all kinds of stuff. And they completely did a whole major overhaul of it. And that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks.
You won't be able to find that on Google.
Oh, yeah. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, yo, there are people behind the information that you're receiving. You have to look into this on your own. You know what I'm saying?
I recommend is people like get old books. Like you gotta go to.
Oh my God, yes.
Go to like a thrift store or whatever. The older the book, the better. Because they changed the definition of thing. That's why when people be talking about this mean this, and when they reading the Bible and it don't even know, you don't even understand what you reading, bro. You guys y'all taking this thing. I would just be so sad for my people because they don't try. What the heck are we doing?
I'm telling you, that was the discovery that rocked me. And when I started to look into it for myself, I realized, oh my God, that's when I learned about scientific racism and all. Man, it blew me away. It blew me away.
Did you see that one debate? It was who was that debater? They was talking about this was the was Darwin racist.
There was a debate about that. I firmly believe he was. Me personally, I believe he was a racist wholeheartedly. I feel like we have enough information to conclusively state that he was a racist, hands down.
I think it was on either Paradigm Shift or the whole F show. I can't remember which channel.
Yeah, I firmly believe he was a racist. Firmly believe he was a racist. There's more than enough information to showcase that. Like, he even had full on, and I'm not talking about distant family members. This man had raging racists in his direct family. You mean to tell me that everybody around his time, everybody of his age, all the people that shared the same perspectives as this man were all racist, but he wasn't? When did we stop saying that birds of a feather flock together? So we're gonna just make exceptions. We're gonna just make exceptions. We can agree, and this what bothers me, because people say shit like this today. We'll look at a woman and based on her friends, we'll declare that woman a whore because she's around a bunch of jump offs. You see what I'm saying? But we're gonna look at a man, quite literally look at a man in antiquity, see that he has all these racists around him. He got family members that's racist, and the name of his book had to do with racism in and of itself. And like people like to recategorize that. Man, we're gonna say he's not a racist? Come on, son. You think I'm that dumb? You think I'm that dumb? It doesn't make any sense. Either way, the knowledge that the Neanderthal genes were in white people was what it blew my brains out. And that's when I was like, you know what? I think I need to read this shit for myself moving forward. I've been force fed nonstop throughout my youth. I was force fed. I was told like we make jokes about it. There's a meme going around on social media right now where it's showing a white man with an Egyptian oh man, regalia. It was Egyptian regalia in a science book or in a history book. You see what I'm saying? That's the shit that they force fed us, and we all laugh about it now, but we don't stop to think for a minute. Like, bro, we were force fed that information as if it was true. We were expected to regurgitate that information in order to pass our exams and things of that nature. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And they're cleaning it up steadily every single year we go along. They're trying to clean it up, and alter it and change it and make it make more sense as we progress forward. But it doesn't change the fact that that information was force fed. At one point in time, they verbatim, straight up and down, made it seem as if the nigga was the motherfucking missing link. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Right. I want to grab this Bible verse real quick. Hold on. I think it's this one. Psalms. Let me see. Let me find this thing. Here it goes. Psalms 83, verse 3 through 8. But I don't think I'm going to read to 8. I'm going to just read verse 3. It said, let me see how much. No, I might read the whole thing. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes and the Gebal and the Ammon and the Amalek and the Philistine with the inhibitions of Tyre or whatever. That's in Egypt. Ashur also is joined with them. They have opened the children of Lot. That's the Asian people. You hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm following.
Who the only people that don't know where they come from?
Listen, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I hear you loud and clear.
We don't went from wars. We don't went to ancient Kemet. We don't went to West Africa. We went Asiatic black men. What other ones are there that we call ourselves? Like Native Americans, all these things.
I hear you loud and clear. It blows my mind that we don't stop to consider the historical context of these things. It really does. It really does. And the reason why we so caught up, like, I don't even know how else to make it. How do you make reading trendy?
Like, I don't know.
How do you make reading trendy? How do you make it?
What's your daughter doing?
You know what? You're right. Fair. You got a good point. It's just we're so caught up in the immediate. Oh, that's what it is. That's the phrase I was looking for. Immediate gratification. We're looking for immediate gratification. You know what I'm saying? Like we're looking for immediate gratification. We want it to feel good now instead of considering the fact that we're not thinking about how it's going to feel tomorrow or the day after that or even weeks from now. We don't think that far ahead, and it's unfortunate because that's where I believe that's where our freedom lies. That's where our freedom lies. Truly.
It definitely is. Once we realize that we are gods. And we have the control and the power, and God grants us the desire. The Most High, y'all, the omnipotent. He not the galaxy. He not the universe. He created the universe. He's not the galaxy. He created the light. You stop minimizing who the Most High is. He's not in a bubble. Stop putting him in a bubble.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Once you embrace your godness and your godly ways, you know, what they did to us Israelite people, though, they tried to demonize us for our godly ways and start saying we were witches. See,
really?
And that's why I came to that when I brought that up earlier, because now the word witch means anything alchemists do. Like if we do some type of chemistry and we made a whole new form of silver, or we melt down some silver, or we did something crazy, you know what I'm saying? Or Big Mama, she had the herbs to heal you because she knew how to govern the plants and the earth and till the ground, do all that stuff. But then now she a witch because she knew that a motherfucking leaf could stop you from coughing. I'm just saying.
I got you. Like they took you putting onions in your socks when you had the flu and the fever as if it was witchcraft. I'm tracking. I got you.
Right.
I got you.
That's that hoodoo voodoo. They turned hoodoo voodoo and made it into Satanism.
I see what you say. I hear you. It's weird though, man. I like I said, I really wish it was a way to make it happen immediately, so we don't gotta have this delayed gratification with our success as a people. But it's really gonna take the actual factual doing the work, taking responsibility, like you said. Ye are gods. You know what I'm saying? There's authority there. We were given dominion. We have a responsibility to make sure that these things are done. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it starts at home. It does. It does. I don't, like I said, I don't speak to a skeptic if they being a fool, but I certainly speak to a skeptic if they just want information. I have no problem talking to you. If you're interested, then sure, I'm gonna have that conversation with you. I believe the book of Proverbs says, answer not a fool according to his folly. And then it says again, answer a fool according to his folly so that he doesn't appear wise. The reason why that is because it takes discernment for you to figure out whether that person really wants information or if they're just trying to make themselves look as if they know what they're talking about.
Like I said in one of my songs, if a fool argue with the fool, who's the fool?
Right.
You will make you my footstool. Sure.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's so crazy. But let me go back. Let's kind of like wind it down because I have more questions.
Go ahead. Go for it.
I think you answered this, but I'm gonna ask again. Are there particular books or authors that have profoundly influenced your views on God, science, and literacy? You already answered that pretty much.
Whew. Not actually literacy. I did. The ones that influenced my thinking on God Himself. I read. There's a book called Signs of Life by David Jeremiah. I absolutely adore that book. I truly do. There's another author, Black man. He came. I want to say he was the creator of Black liberation theology. But this is one book that was so pivotal. Oh my God. It's gonna drive me crazy until I figure it out. Oh man.
What's his name again?
I'm looking it up now. His name is hold on. It's coming to me. Give me 2 seconds. James Cone. Okay. James Cone. Yes. He has a book. He has a book.
Not no Diddy Cone.
No. He has a book. God of the Oppressed is the name of the book. God of the Oppressed is the name of that book. That book was absolutely mind-blowing. Like I adored reading that book. It was a phenomenal book. I still own it to this day. I haven't read it in a while. You make me want to go pick it up actually. It was a absolute great book that helped with my faith. I literally read the David Jeremiah. I walk around with the David Jeremiah book. Like it's in my truck right now, believe it or not. I literally walk around with it because I read it every day. I try to open it up and read a little bit of it. It's called Signs of Life, right? It gets back to a practical Christianity. That's something that I pride myself on. Trying to keep my faith practical. Because we focus so much on the supernatural that we almost ignore and forsake the natural. You get what I'm saying? You see that happening a lot, right? In the institutionalized Black church, where people put so much emphasis on the hooting and hollering. I'm not knocking it. I'm not ridiculing it. I'm just explaining, right? They put so much emphasis on catching the Holy Ghost and the hooting and hollering and the excitableness of it all that they ignore the work that needs to be done after that's all said and done. You get what I'm saying? You can do all that hooting and hollering in there, but what do you look like when you're at home? What do you look like in your interactions with your fellow man? What do you look like? You see what I'm saying? Like, those are
Right.
the things that people tend to ignore. That practical faith. I'm
Mhm.
very practical about my. I'm incredibly practical. Like just moments ago, for example, you said you was an Israelite. I'm not gonna offend you. I'm technically in your home. This is your space. You were
Mhm.
hospitable to me. Why would I not greet you as the Israelite that you tell me that you are? You see what I'm saying? In
Mhm.
those instances, it takes practicality, and a lot of people tend to. I can't imagine. I've seen some instances where instead of people entreating people as they are, or even respecting people as they go in trying to be very abrasive, and it loses it really creates a bad taste for what it
Mhm.
means to be a representative of Jesus Christ. So in your case, Yahshua Hamashiach, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
we tend to create a very bad taste because we're representatives. You see what I'm saying? We're literally the fixture in which people interact with the Messiah himself.
Mhm.
We are you mentioned the body, right? And I love that you mentioned the body. Nobody is going to be able to actually interact with Christ unless they shake his hand. Who is his hand? Do you see where I'm going with this?
Right.
See where I'm going with this?
I
In
know
many
he's God's right hand. I don't know who's his hand. The man is
right,
supposed to be his hand. The man, ain't
right,
the man supposed to be his hand?
the point I'm making is that we're the representatives of such, right? So
Mhm.
the way that the world interacts with Christ is through us, and a lot of people have lost their way to that effect. A lot of people, we don't consider how abrasive we are. We don't consider how, and I'm not taking away from humanity, right? Because again, we're all human beings. We do stuff and we fall short on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? I'm a troll in and of myself. The minute somebody get on my nerves, I get back on their nerves. Is that the right thing to do? It's not, but that's what I do. You get what I'm saying? Doesn't I'm being honest. Like I told you earlier, I own my shit. Like when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
own it. But in many cases we lose that practicality. And that book specifically, The Signs of Life, it really puts me back in the mind state of remaining practical. Like Jamel, you're a representative. Act like it. You know what I'm saying, Jay? You're literally a physical representation of the Messiah. Act like it. Make sure that you're carrying yourself as such. You feel me?
Mhm.
Again, ye are gods. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Ye are gods. I got to walk with the authority that I've been given. And in majority of cases, we don't see it as such. But those are the two books that really, really, really hit me square in my chest concerning my
Mhm.
faith. Outside of the Bible itself,
Mhm.
those two books were amazing. They were
Mhm.
amazing. And then of course there's other books.
Mhm.
One of my favorite Christian theologian authors, his name is Martin Lloyd Jones.
Mhm.
Honorable mention, phenomenal writer. I loved reading his book. That book, I cannot remember the name of it. It's escaping me right now. It'll come to me. I'll probably shoot at you in a DM when I get a chance. But
Okay.
these are just the books that really, 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 really like sharpened my faith and my understanding of the Christian faith. Because a lot of people, like you and I discussed earlier, they don't even know what it means to even follow Christ. They have no
Mhm.
clue.
No, they don't. No, but they won't understand unless they just get read it for themselves.
E- exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
People be using like how sometimes you have Christian quotes from the church and stuff, but it don't be in the Bible. I'm trying to think of this one because I was like, you can't find that in the Bible nowhere. Well, I can't think of it right now. So, but I'm trying to think because I told my friend, I'm like, girl, that ain't in the Bible nowhere. Oh, come as you are. That one.
Yeah, that's not in there. That ain't, you ain't gonna find
The Bible say, come as you
it.
are. Matter of fact, he made specific clothes for you to wear to come to his temple. What are you
Yeah,
talking
he
about?
verbatim, yo, no, numerous times, all throughout history, he really fashioned you to come in a certain way. That's a fact. That's a
Mhm.
fact.
I'm
That
like,
is a
where y'all
fact.
get this from? Come as you are. That's I don't know. One of my favorite Bible verses is Hosea. I can't remember Hosea 3, 4. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but I know it's
Oof.
Hosea.
Man,
And
that chapter made me pull over on the highway before. True
right,
story.
my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge, and that
Right.
is the truest thing ever, ever. When we choose not to learn or research, or we already feel defeated and we take defeat, you know, that's the destroy. You know, that's where we become destroyed. So
Right,
I was never the type of person that took no for an answer. I'm gonna find a way.
right.
Um, what's one of your favorite Bible verses?
Whew. Man. That's tough, right? That's tough. So my favorite verses depend on my mental, emotional, and spiritual state at that present time, right?
Okay, which one would it be right now?
The one that resonates with me continuously,
Mm,
like not over literally the last 10 years
mm,
continuously, was Jesus Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane. The specific verse, one second. It is Matthew 26 and 39.
mm.
Matthew 26:39. He said verbatim, I like to read this in the KJV if you don't mind. He
I don't mind.
said, "Oh, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou will." Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's my absolute favorite scripture continuously over the last 10 years since I found myself and grounded myself in my faith. The reason for that is
Mm,
because it speaks to the humanity of the Messiah. It
mm,
speaks to the humanity of the Messiah. If it's any scripture in the entire Bible
mm,
that I relate with God the most on, is that one. Is
mm,
that one. Because I always, as a man, right? We uniquely as men, we have a godlike perspective on
mm,
the world, right? We're in positions of authority. We're in charge of the family. You know what I'm saying? We have a literal bride, if you're married, whom we got to present without spot or blemish. You see what I'm saying? We have a very uniquely godlike perspective throughout life. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
And in a lot of cases, we find ourselves in situations where we don't want to do the shit that we supposed to do
Right.
because it's either very difficult, like very challenging, painful, or
Mm,
it's just not something we see for ourselves. But
mm,
even though we know for a fact we don't like it, we do it anyway because it's what we're supposed to do. What's what we're charged with. It's what's
mm,
the righteous thing to do. And I can't count the amount of times that I've experienced that as a man and not known the words exactly to encapsulate exactly how I felt until I read that scripture. That scripture gave me so much peace because I found the relatability with my Lord. You know what I'm saying? I found that relatability with my Lord. Like he actually experienced this charge. Like he was like, yo, if this possible at all for this to pass me by, then please. But honestly, if this is what it is you want me to do, then I'm gonna do it anyway. You get what I'm saying? And
mm,
that's literally, I found so much peace in that. So much peace. The
mm.
second runner up, hands down, got to be the Book of Jonah. When
I like that one.
Jonah was not trying to, in any way, shape, or form, take the law or the word of God to the Ninevites. I believe it was the Ninevites. I gotta go.
To
He was
tell
not
them what
trying
to
to do it.
respect.
He was like, yo, fuck no, hell no. You know what they did to my people? I don't
Mm,
want to do shit for them. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? What I love the most about that was the fact
mm,
that God didn't condemn him for that.
mm.
He didn't. God understood his perspective. God fully understood that there was no way that was an easy feat for him to do. Like, yo, I wouldn't want to do it either. You
Well,
know what I'm
didn't he
saying?
kind of end up in the belly of the beast, though? I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
he did. Like it took God shaking him up, and you know what I'm saying, to make him do it. But what's funny is even
Mm,
after he got shook up, even after he got swallowed by the fish, even after all of that, and he went to them and preached the word, he
mm.
literally still didn't like it. He was still mad.
You
he was
know,
still
that's crazy. He was mad. I'm sorry. I
he
didn't
was
mean to
st-
cut you off.
no, you fine, you fine. He was still angry. And what I loved about it was that God didn't condemn him. The Most High did not condemn him. He accepted his emotions because he understood, like, yo, that's just what he's feeling. Doing
Mm,
what it showed me is that you don't have to like it to do the right thing. You get what I'm saying? You
mm,
don't have to like it to do the right thing. And as uncomfortable as it may be, as much as you don't like it,
mm,
sometimes you got to step outside yourself and see things as the Most High would. You know what I'm saying? You got to step outside yourself and see things that the Most High would. It gave me a lot of perspective. It really, really did. When I tell you it really did, it really did. Those two scriptures, hands down, make the whole Bible, outside of course is, you know what I'm saying, the sacrifice of the Lord himself. Outside of that, those two make the whole Bible worth it for me, because I can see myself as a man and as a human being in those two scriptures.
Right. Um, uh, uh, Something funny about Jonah though. Um, a lot of people don't know this because the language, the linguistics of everything. So certain names is different, like how you said Jesus and Joshua. All those. The Hebrew name. It's just
Right,
basically semantic. But just like Moses is Tet Moses. Tet
right,
Moses, something
right.
like that. So Jonah actually, he was the first person to decipher the Metanucher. The Metanetter, is that the name? Metanetter, yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
But his name, man, in Egypt, I mean, in Egyptian, his name meant man that swam with a big fish or something like that. So that's what they call him in the Egyptian language or whatever. But it was really Jonah that deciphered the Metanetter. I just thought that was a fun thing to share.
That's no, that was dope. You just taught me something. I'm gonna have to write that down. That's
Mhm.
dope. You just taught me
Okay,
something.
so the next question would be, what advice would you give to someone struggling to reconcile their religious beliefs with scientific evidence?
Oof. Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna say keep digging. Keep digging. The worst thing you could do, in my opinion, the worst thing you could do, and this doesn't even just apply with science, but in life in and of itself, is the minute you come up against a struggle, you stop. Like if I'm digging through, if I'm, let's just use the analogy of digging, right? If I'm digging, right, and I'm trying to get to somewhere, why would I stop the minute it becomes difficult for me? That doesn't make any sense.
That
That doesn't make
actually happened. That actually happened during the gold rush. It was
yeah.
digging for some gold. It's called. You can Google the story. It's called 3 Foot Away. 3 Foot
Yeah,
Away.
3 foot.
And
I'm telling you.
the dude was digging for gold. I mean, digging for oil or gold. I can't remember exactly which one. And he stopped because he wasn't finding nothing. He felt like the little well was dry. So he sold his little mine to somebody else, and they was only 3 feet away. And he hit that thing and was
Wow.
smoking rich.
Wow. That's the point. That's the point, right? The more you search, more than likely you're gonna find the answers that you seek. Like my quote that I mentioned earlier from Lao Tzu, you know what I'm saying? Absence of desire, you see the mystery, the presence of desire, you see the manifestation. Keep searching. That's what my advice would be. Like
Mm,
just because you're up against something, I think one of the most cowardly things a person can do is the minute that their faith is challenged, they run. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Or the minute their faith is challenged, they immediately give it up. Like, how about you just search? How about you dig for more information to find what you're looking for? Like,
mm,
dig, keep searching, search,
mm,
research. Don't just give up at the first sight of trouble. Like, no, there's an explanation for everything. And I hate that we tend to act as if there isn't. I hate that we pretend like there isn't. There's an explanation for everything. And I guarantee you, if you come up against a situation where you're struggling in your faith as a result of newfound information, you can find the explanation that you seek if you seek it. So just
mm.
keep searching. That's the advice that I would give. Keep searching.
Seek and you shall find. Any final thoughts?
No, honestly, I just enjoyed this conversation. It didn't even feel like we was on a show or doing a podcast. I really enjoyed this conversation. I really did.
I'm sorry, 'cause
It
you
was a
know what? When you said that you was into the technology and the science, I'm like, man, this is a man after my own heart.
yeah.
So I didn't even stay. We just started talking. I didn't even stay stuck to the questions I had. I didn't even ask all of them. I did ask a few, but yeah, I was just like, okay, well, then when I go back to look at the questions I didn't ask, I'm like, oh, we already covered all this anyway. So it was
Yeah, it was a dope conversation. I really appreciate you having me. I would love to come on again. Just let me know when, and I'll make the time to be here. I promise. I really enjoyed this conversation. It was dope.
Okay, so what future developments do you have going on? New endeavors, so we can look forward to with the people.
Um, so currently I'm working with the Paradigm Shift to complete this tournament that's going on. My next debate is up against Takari Dawson. I hope everything works out with his family. You are in my prayers, brother. I really do. I don't know what's going on, but I just hope whatever it is being sorted out.
Shout out
Shout out
to Sorry. I'm sorry.
yeah. Shout out to Takari. Shout out to the whole Craig and Craig law firm. Shout out to DMG. Shout out to the Dream Team. But
Are you part of the
I'm
Dream
working.
Team?
I am a part of the Dream
And
Team.
you
Yeah.
finna debate your own teammate?
Takari not on the Dream Team. He's not on the Dream Team.
Darian on the Dream Team. I know I interviewed
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so
So
you finna, I don't want to see that. I like both of y'all. I can't. Oh man, that's gonna be so hard for me. Oh
it's gonna
God.
be a fun debate. 'Cause I like Takari a lot. I like him a lot. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, I'm working on that. I actually, as a result of being on the Paradigm Shift, it made me reignite my podcast that I had going. I'm gonna do a show coming up soon, probably within the next couple of weeks.
Mm,
Um, the podcast is called Facts Only. It's literally just a conversation where I take music and cultural references and tie
mm,
them into lessons that we can learn from using those cultural references and music, obviously based in my
mm,
faith. The very last one I did was a year and a half, 2 years ago,
mm,
where I used the song Cry by Jay-Z to give a lesson
mm,
about standards. And
mm,
having standards in a relationship and how we can tend to be a little bit flexible. We should be flexible with our standards when we're already in a relationship.
mm.
So I'm thinking about reinvigorating that. As a result of the paradigm shift, it really sparked it lit something up inside of me that made me want to get back on the mic because I got so caught up working.
Your
Just
muse is back, huh?
yeah, I worked so because I got two jobs and two businesses. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So I'm really busy. Like I'm not exaggerating that. Like I am really a busy person. I don't have the time to afford anything for that matter. So
mm,
what I used to do before it became Facts Only, I used to have a podcast called 5 Minutes with Facts that blew up. I didn't expect it to blow up as big as it did.
mm,
Um, it really blew up, and I ended up stepping back
mm,
because I had some stuff going on in my life. I ended up getting divorced and all that good stuff. But
mm,
anywho, and then I started Facts Only, and I ended up stepping away from that. I lost my inspiration, like you said. My muse came back, but my muse came back as a result of me being in a debate scene. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? It came back as a result of me being in a debate scene. So I'm about to respark that up. I'm trying my best to spread myself around with the space that I have and the time that I have to afford.
Mm.
But that's all I'm working on. Just helping get this tournament rolling, keeping this tournament rolling, doing my part within the tournament, and just making sure that things go in the direction they're supposed to.
Do you
As
got
far as
any
me,
diss tracks? Because some a lot of the other ones we had diss tracks I played on the show.
so
I see.
I'm not a rapper. I'm not a rapper
Oh,
myself.
I feel
Yeah, I'm
like
not.
you'll be a good rapper.
So I'm not a rapper myself. I don't rap myself. I don't find. I'm not gonna say I don't find myself having the skill to do so because I used to play around a lot in my teens, but I'm not as good as the other guys are. Like Cannon Darian, he's an actual rapper. I can't compare to him. You know what I'm saying? Pandemons, for example, he actually make music. I can't compare. Neo Love, for example, he makes music. I
Ain't no
can't
such
compare.
thing as I can't.
No, you're right. You
We ain't doing that over here.
you absolutely. You know what? Let me correct myself. I could compare if I applied myself. That's what I'm gonna
Yeah,
say.
you think?
I, I
Yeah.
could compare
So
if
I'll
I
be
applied
waiting for the diss track to be coming out soon.
myself.
Just go on YouTube and play some instrumental beats and write you down something and rap over it. You ain't gotta be no engineer or
All right,
nothing.
I'll see what I come up with. Just because you said that, I'm gonna see what I can come up with. I got you.
Okay, I'll be waiting for that. And okay, so I think I asked most of the question. It was such a joy having you here. I want to thank you for sharing your incredible insight and experience with us today. It's been enlightening. And this has certainly given us a lot to think about. To our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this episode and gained deeper understanding of how God, science, and literacy can intersect in meaningful ways. Remember to stay curious, keep exploring, and join us next time on Mouth Off with Meika. And also, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to the whole episode, Paradigm Shift. And I forgot to ask you one more question before I did my conclusion. I'm sorry.
Nah, you go. What's up?
What's the title of the debate?
For me and Takari? We not settled on it. We talked about it, but we ain't settled on it because he had something come up with his family. So we don't really have an ironed out title. I'm assuming we're gonna have it within the next couple of days. So I'm hoping to hear back from him soon. But that's why I just gave my well wishes, because there's nothing set in stone right now.
Oh, okay. So I'm Meika Wash, you guys, and this is Mouth Off with Meika, and we are out of here.
Show who you are. Good riddance. Is you kidding? Bid the forbidden. As it was written, you overbidding. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, unforgiving. Cast the pearls on hog moms and chitlin'. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. Finger licking good looking. Stewing in the stew, I'm cooking. You psyched out, paranoid and shookin'. Shook the table, babes, I'm booking. Get prepared for this ass whooping. Listen to the words being spoken. You were talking, I'm awake and woken. While I'm spitting this, got your spit, got choking. Era up, a glimpse in my world, eyes shut open. Parallel in my mind, I'm chosen. Reverse the time, heart frozen. Antarctica, cold as ice. Casting lots, rolling dice. Mean as nails, I'm nothing nice. They persecuted me like they rejected Christ. Hey, show who you are. Good riddance. Is you kidding? Bid the forbidden. As it was written, with the heathens. Casting pearls on hog moms and chitlins. Sloth, love, gluttony, pride, wrath, and envy. On my neck, literally. 7 deadly sins constantly. So now I gotta take this shit personally. I have no respect of personality. If you ain't with me, then you against me. Mother Nature, but I got allergies, allergic to bullshit. My pedigree to some degree, but I open vision is 4D, portrait focus, panoramic